because it's like the sun goes down. I look to the people to my left and to my right. I'm gonna need you guys to come get my black ass out this fire. You feel me? Come get me, please.
Help me.
Help me.
Help me, nigga. Help me.
Burden of performance, because you could be with a girl and she could think that she has a great life with you, and she just sees something on Instagram or TikTok that says if your boyfriend didn't, I don't know, tap you on your right shoulder during retrograde, then it really means X, and now you have to deal with that. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Find Your Formula Reacts. Now today I got with me some very special guests. I'm gonna go around, allow you guys to introduce yourselves, tell a little bit about yourselves, etc. Starting with you, sir.
Hi, I'm Tyler, and I'm a Leo.
Okay, we're gonna edit that out. No, I'm playing. Go ahead.
What's up, guys? Aristotle. I'm 26. I'm Greek, and I'm a Christian.
Definitely the coolest guy here, hands down.
Hello, I'm Speedy. I'm 26, and I'm married.
Gang, gang. And you guys already know who I am, right? So what we're doing today is a little bit different. You guys are familiar with the channel. You're familiar with the content. What I'm going to be doing is we're going to all be reacting to the Notorious is Complicated channel. He's going into masculine duties and rules of modern dating. So without any further ado, let's get into the video.
You always have a burden of performance. This is why most homeless people are men, not women. You always, when you don't have the burden of performance, this is why more people who take their own lives are men as opposed to women. As a man, you always have burden of performance. No one is coming to save. Now, often no one's coming to save women also, but there is this thing with women where it's like, if you're an attractive woman, there kind of is a dude or a line of dudes that are like, I would absolutely be willing to take care of you. Whereas for me, I don't have big boobies.
Provide, protect. It's not necessarily a burden, but kind of a responsibility I think that men are born into.
The societal standards that are put on men of like they need to be tough, they can't cry, and they have to be like protectors.
Is that burden something men choose or something society forces on them?
I think that is what men choose by being a man, because you're masculine and you have the strength, you have the power, and you should be the leader.
I think it's something.
Do you think the burden of performance is something that men choose or something that we're born into? I think it's something that we're born into. And I think that the men that fail are the ones that are overlooked the most by women. That's my belief. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same because I mean, they like we're just born men. Like eventually, we're born boys, grow up to be men. So there's no like real choice there as far as that. And then once you get to a certain point in life, like I said, you're expected to be able to like have like all your ducks in a row, have X, Y, and Z, a job, a house, all this stuff, or else I feel like you're also, if you don't by that point, you're kind of looked down on or looked less than someone who's maybe in their mid to late 20s and has like big car, fancy car, or no, big house, fancy car, all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you brought up a interesting point. When you're 18, I think I went through this. You have this idea in your head that you're going to move out and everything's going to be
easy
in front of you. You're going to be good.
Yeah, you're going to just have it all figured out.
Yeah, you're not. Very few people do. Yeah. And I'm 26 now. I'm just starting to figure things out and be like, okay, I think I have a general idea of what it means to stand on my own 2 feet. But I don't think I would call it a burden. I think it's your duty. And are we born into it, or is it something society chooses? I think it's something that you're born into, and a lot of the answers I look for when it comes to what does that encompass, I look in the Bible, because I think it's for me, the single source of truth. So.
Okay. Well, Speedy, what do you got before I ask the group another question before we let it rock a little bit more?
I feel like it's something you're born into, and as far as like society's expectations and stuff like that, you can look to society or you can look at those around you. I personally am a big influence by those around me because I see the qualities I either want or don't want in those around me, and I'm constantly learning through others because that's the best way for me to learn.
So that's fair. My second question then to the group would be, what's the difference between duty and a burden? Because I think of it as like life is burdensome. You're gonna have responsibilities, tasks. You're gonna have people that rely on you if you want to have a family, etc. Right? But what makes something a burden? Is it a negative outcome that makes it a burden versus a positive outcome making it a duty? Or what classifies something as a burden in your guys' opinion?
I say this being married, I would seriously classify burden as just responsibility of. So when I started dating my wife, she became my responsibility when I was taking her out on dates and when I was wanting to form a relationship with her. Then when I got married and her father handed her to me, it was the expectation that I'm going to take care of his daughter to the best of my ability and then some. And all of the promises I made during my vows, you know what I mean? That was my responsibility. That was my promise not only to her, but to God to, you know what I mean? I got to hold. So that was for me. So again, as far as burden, it's just, for me, that means like taking responsibility of and accountability of. It doesn't have to necessarily be debt or negative. It can be if you make it. But most of the time, it's just, for me, responsibility.
Okay. What you got? What do you think?
Well, before he said that, I was gonna say something like, duty, I think, is more something you take upon yourself or you swear into. Whereas burden is things that come up in life that you just have to deal with. There may not be no rhyme or reason to it, but it's something you have to like take on to continue on. Whereas duty is like, this is something I want to take and cherish it, protect it, or just maybe like most of us in here are firefighters. That's like I think that's a good example of like a duty we swore into that we wanted to do in the first place, and we take care of it pretty well. We take care of our duty and do what we have to do, not because someone forced this on us, but because we swore in and we wanted to do it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so like duty is internal and a burden, or correct me if I'm wrong, a duty is internal and a burden is external.
Yeah, that's
as far as like okay, all right, that's a fair take.
You brought up a good point. Marriage, I think, for me, if you're gonna date, you date with the idea in your head that I want to figure out if this is a person that I want to marry, and God willing, you do. Then you accept that responsibility, and I think of that as you are taking on that duty to, again, in the Bible, do what you're called to do. A burden, I think, for me, I think it has a negative connotation, like an anchor that's pulling you down. And if you think your marriage or the person you're with is kind of like that anchor pulling you down, then maybe something's wrong there. But I do think it's a duty, and for those reasons.
So I understand. We're gonna let it play here after this, but I don't necessarily think a burden's a bad thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think a burden is just a load like put on your shoulders. Like if I go to squat, right, that's a burden that's on my shoulders, but it's making me stronger. So I don't necessarily think burdens are bad. I think that burdens are absolutely necessary. Like we all have, you have a burden as a son, or a responsibility. I think the word burden and the word responsibility can be interchangeable, and I still think that it's okay. So when I hear men have a burden of performance, if you change that word burden and say responsibility, I don't think there's any man alive that would disagree with that. But now that we say the word burden, it does have a negative connotation. That's why it's a little bit But I think when you apply it to everyday life, that its application is the exact same as a responsibility. So I don't think that they're really different. I just think that it has a negative connotation, because you can have responsibilities that weigh you down, so to speak, but those are your responsibilities. Like that's what you have to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think the two are similar, but the word burden implies that you are responsible for something, right? There's something that's affecting you, but there's negatives that come with it. I think it focuses on the negative.
Okay, no, that's fair. Yeah. Let's let her play a little bit more.
You could say that's forced on them, but I think that in 2025, there's two ways to look at it. You can find a relationship if you look in the right places where you don't need that burden and where things are split in a more 50-50 sense. And there are also going to be relationships a lot of the time where people expect a certain level of continuity from a man, expecting him to do things that, have been expected for a very long time.
It can be a mixture of both, but I think it's more like the pressure from like the fathers of like that's how they were raised, and it's like a societal and like generational pressure.
At what point does this responsibility stop being noble and start feeling like exploitation?
I think to the point of when women are using and abusing it, right? So like women are like, oh, you're a man, so pay all my bills and take care of me 100%, but then I'm just using you for that instead of an actual intimate relationship.
Can a man reject this burden? And if not, what does that say about his freedom?
So the question was, can a man reject this burden? And if so, what does that say about him, the man that is rejecting said burden? I think that a man can reject that burden, but I don't really think that there's a place in society for men that do. Yeah. I think that those men are accosted and they're essentially burned at the cross and they're looked at as useless. I think the men that don't, quote unquote, step up, you always hear like, men need to step up, right? The men that don't do that, I don't think that they get to live a good life. You know what I'm saying? I think that their burden, I think that every man is judged on how well they carry said burden, and those that refuse to are judged the harshest. Not only by women, but also by men as well. You know, if we're out on the fire ground and you see someone not pulling their weight, you're going to jump in. Like, you're going to be like, yo, what are you doing, bro? Get it together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I think if that man chooses to deny said burden, he's not going to live a good life based off of his choices. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. And it also, I guess going to I want to bring some up with the previous question. What was it? It was when is that?
When does it go from noble to being exploitation?
Right.
Yeah.
And there are, there could be women who exploit men who exploit women. It can go vice versa. But if we're just talking about the men, I do agree with that sense. And I think that's where it comes into, you got to really, as a man, you got to take the choice of the woman you want to be with for the rest of your life very seriously.
Yeah.
And, treat it as, not just like, I just want to find any woman, but find like a partner, someone who I can, like, I have my responsibilities as a man and I'm going to fulfill those duties. And you fulfill your responsibilities as a woman and you do your duties. That doesn't mean like we just have different duties. We have different roles we have to play. And it's finding someone who's compatible with what you can do and help you out maybe where you're weak or where you're, or someone you can help, vice versa. I think that's very important for us as men to like figure out in life as we keep moving forward.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
What was the question?
So the question was, can a man reject his quote unquote burden of performance? And if he does, what does it say about that man?
And when it talks about performance, it's like that masculine duty to
protect, provide, and provision, I'd say. So that's a good point. So yeah, let's kind of like, let's take a step back for a second, right? Because when we're talking about masculine burden of performance, what are we actually talking about? You said like have a job, have a car, and different age brackets. People expect different things from you, right? People don't really expect you to have your life together at 18. But they do expect you to have your life together at like 45. You know what I'm saying? If you're still doing the same things that you were when you were 18, now that you're 45, well, you just wasted almost, 30? You wasted 27 years. Quick maths, right? You just wasted 27 years. So in that sense, you are a quote unquote loser because you haven't progressed. So you're not meeting your burden of performance. At least that's how I see it, right? What are the jobs of men, you guys think, like in general, when it comes to society and relationships? What do you guys think the jobs of men are? Like
Well, in society or relationships?
Let's go both, because they play into each other. What is society if not just a bunch of people having relationships?
I think if we're talking about relationships, so one thing I learned about myself when I first got into this career was I noticed, because we did all these tests, and it was like psychological tests, not like for like James Bond shit, just fun stuff.
Right.
And the thing I valued the most was my relationships with other people. It was just like that. Excuse me. That's how it was basically explained to me. I think, again, what was the question?
If a man decides to reject,
what does that say about him?
Yeah, what does that say about
I
him?
think the beauty of life is you have the free will to choose to do whatever it is you want to do. However, you are not free of consequence. All decisions have good consequences and bad consequences.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
For me, I think the word love, one of the definitions, because it's a very difficult word to explain, is you're somebody who is considerate of other people. Like, I'm pretty sure most of us have that one person or people in our lives, but there's not a whole lot that you really wouldn't do for that person or people because you really love them. And I think maybe the feeling is mutual. It goes both ways. Protect or provide, then to each his own. You're free to do that and make that decision, but you're not free of consequence. And I think it could most definitely, I'm not going to say 100% because I'm not all-knowing, but with almost certainty that it will negatively affect your relationship with that person or people.
That's fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. I think that society needs men to carry that burden, if you will, because if not, who's going to? So to your point, you are free of choice, but you're not free of consequences. And I think if men do not act virtuous, because that's really what we're talking about, right? Is virtue, being courageous, dealing with the burden. If men do not act virtuous, I think that's the sign that your society's failing.
And what's the antonym? Can I see that? Just to add on to that, and yeah, if we're talking about virtues, what's the antonym to like courage?
Cowardice.
Being a coward.
Yeah.
That's not something I think most people.
Yeah, people don't pray to be more.
Would either want or want a relationship with somebody who is a coward, or somebody who doesn't have that initiative to do what they think they should do. They don't have that courage. And again, I think it'll negatively impact you.
Yeah.
Life's scary, but it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
I really don't got to follow up. Because
he just starts freestyling. Yeah.
Nah, I 100% agree with what he said.
What I said or what he said?
No, what you said.
Okay.
You have the freedom to say what you want to say, do what you want to do, but there is consequences to every single action. It doesn't mean it has to be big. It can be something so minimal. It's like the butterfly effect. Anything you do can have a reaction down the road that you don't even know about. So, again, I have no response.
No, it's fair. That's 100% fair. We're going to keep it pushing here.
Reject this burden, however, it might not play well for him in the sexual marketplace.
A man can reject it, but he's not a real man.
What does that do to his dating options and why?
It makes him very slim because he's not a real man.
Because of the societal norm, there's consequences to that of like maybe getting a partner is more difficult because they're looking for someone that holds like the masculine standard. But I don't think there's any necessarily like huge consequences for breaking the norm.
I personally have a career of my own and certainly happy to contribute. But to some degree, I think every woman wants to be taken care of by a man. It lowers his chances of getting the woman he wants because he's not meeting expectations.
How can women say that masculinity is toxic at the same time they want men to perform?
I think it's confusion. There's a fine line. So I think like in this society, we've kind of lost a little bit of it, but There's a fine line of being taken care of and being a provider to your family, and it kind of exploiting that.
Do you think that women have the privilege of being more picky because they have more options?
Yes, definitely.
So if men had more dating options than women, wouldn't it be women who had a burden of performance instead of men?
Absolutely.
So why aren't we shaming the women to step up instead of men?
I feel like women are shamed, just not as much as men are.
Why don't women have a burden of performance to become better partners if they don't want to be viewed as a mere sexual object?
Yeah, why don't women get shamed for not being better partners, aka that's their burden of performance, instead of if they don't want to be seen as purely sexual objects? That was the question. Because a man's initial interest in a woman is sexual in nature. First of all, do you guys agree with that or disagree with that?
If that's the man's first instinct.
Yeah. That's his initial interest in her, is sexual, I think.
I think it might be a very big part of it. But I think there's sometimes you see a woman, I think, and while the better part of your intuition, if you want to call it, is sexual, you're still going to have those things in the back of your head. Is this a woman that I'm going to take seriously long term, and maybe even bear our children, if you would? But yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, I think that part comes after though, because you're not gonna look at like some wildebeest looking woman and think, oh, you're just not.
She's the one.
You know what I mean? You're just not gonna. You're not. But I agree. Like it's not the only thing.
Yeah.
But the initial attraction, the initial spark.
That thing you see, it has to be there.
Exactly, it needs to be there, right? So if a man's initial attraction to a woman is sexual at the very least in nature, right? And this is under the pretenses of like every woman kind of wants the same guy, wants the same man. Who was messaging me? Oh no. Every woman kind of wants the same guy, wants the same man. His question then was, why don't women have a burden of performance of being better partners if they don't want to be viewed as purely sexual objects? So that kind of gives like extra context to the question, if that makes a little bit more sense.
How would they control that, being viewed like that?
How would women control that?
Yes.
I think it's kind of the same way how men would control just not being seen as a wallet. You don't just lead with what you have, you lead with who you are. And I think if we flip it, right, if women led with who they are as opposed to what they can do in the bedroom, not saying every woman does that, but some women do.
So the answer to that would be more selective and don't just sleep with anyone.
100%. Yeah.
Just like conversely, the same is true for men.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let every woman have access to your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Be selective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree that people should be selective, but I try to look at things as what they are, not what they should be.
Yeah,
we shouldn't do a lot of things that we do, and a lot of things should happen that don't. Right? That's why we're in the situation that we're in now, like with dating and in society. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. Yes, people should be more sexually selective, both men and women alike, but they're not. And because of that, I like to look at the situation as for what it is, as opposed to what it should be.
Be more selective.
You should be. Yeah, you should be more selective. That's how that gets controlled. That's how that gets fixed, if you will. But yeah, so what do you think?
I agree with a lot of what was just said. Don't really have much else to add on to that topic. There was the question earlier before that so women want someone to be masculine, but they don't want toxic masculine, or what people identify as toxic masculinity. Yeah, that gets thrown around on social media all the time.
Yeah, he said women complain about toxic masculinity, but they want men to perform.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for me personally, like, hey, if you want to find someone who's masculine or fits those generic masculine roles, that's perfectly fine, and I don't disagree with that. But I feel toxic masculinity kind of gets thrown around a little too much for just dudes that are just maybe just abusive. Like, oh, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, you have to do what I say, like, and everything. No, like, if a true man, I don't think is just flaunting around like his strength or the fact that he's bigger and stronger and everything as like a way to like control you. I think a man can take those good attributes of masculinity and show you, this is what I can do, provide for you, with what I can do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And then also, is there? I was just thinking about this. Is there like anything? Because like I said, toxic masculinity gets thrown around a lot. Is there an example y'all can think of, like, what is toxic femininity? Like, or like, is there an attribute? Is that just like someone who's just like we talked about with the wallet thing, like just someone who just abuses your wallet and spends all your money and doesn't care what you think? Is that what that would look like?
That's a very fair question. What do you guys think? Let's open that. What is toxic femininity? We have a grasp on what toxic masculinity is, but what is?
I'm gonna jump right on this.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I think
that's a part of it for sure. Yeah,
you guys are onto it because I think we're all thinking the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And tell me if you agree with this. I think that one of the biggest things a woman looks for in a man is, can he provide?
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about a man's instinct or his intuition initially is the sex.
Yeah.
So the woman knows that that's what the man wants.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess two forms of toxic masculinity is either physical or financial. So weaponizing either money or physical strength. Like, you had a bad day at work, you come home and
give it out knuckle
like
sandwiches,
tuna salad, and you start, swinging.
You start punching.
So I think that would be what toxic masculinity looks like.
For sure.
What toxic femininity looks like, maybe weaponizing sex.
Right.
That would be.
It's an emotional manipulation as well.
That's, I think, one of the best ways you can put it.
Because I think with that, like with men, we fight pretty straightforward. You know what I'm saying? Like, throughout history, men combat in the realm of violence.
Okay.
You know, when someone pushes me, I punch them, they fall, whatever, right? Well, I feel like I think the way that women fight wars is, it's more fugazi. It's more abstract. It's not as concrete. It's harder to pin down, right? If I hit someone and they go and they have a black eye, it's like, okay, well, then you can clearly see that there's a problem. But if someone's just constantly psychologically attacking you, do you have all of these invisible scars and wounds? How do you patch those up? You know what I'm saying? I think that the way that they fight is twice as dangerous and deadly, but it's not as overt. So it's kind of hands off with it a little bit. And I think that's where the emotional manipulation comes in. Yes, weaponizing sex is a part of that, but also too, man, like, you'll see videos where husbands will have like a to-do list that they have to do before they can sleep with their wife. And I think that's absolutely insane for two reasons. One, because the men that she had before, she didn't have a to-do list for them, and she was having sex with them more enthusiastically.
So it's a little hypocritical.
It's very hypocritical, because you like we talk about duties for us, right? For men, I think the reason why we harp so heavily on men is because if Atlas shrugs, the world ends that day. You get what I'm saying? If men,
No.
With Atlas
for example,
holding up the world and shit.
Who?
Atlas holding up the world from Greek mythology. He holds up the world and everything. And if he shrugs, that's going to be like, oh, the world's just going to fall apart.
For example, right? If men's just, all of us, we just decided to not go to work. Like, if all the men in the world just disappeared, the world wouldn't make it 24 hours. You got something?
I hope you're thinking of what I'm thinking of now.
Literally, I think a couple months ago or last year, there was women in like the Netherlands or whatever.
Yes,
they literally did not go to work for a
same
single day. And what ended up happening was, the very next day, all the men said work continued as normal. There was less HR complaints. They were able to get even more done. I'm just saying they really showed in that country. I'm not saying that's gonna be the same everywhere.
Right.
But when I seen that actual article and they actually did it in the Newsline and all the reports, it was kind of like,
right.
And it was crazy because all the like the news cameras, all these women like chanting and celebrating, like, hey, and then it's like, and then it pans to that. It's like,
so that's like, but that's what it is, though, right? But if men didn't go to work, the world to a screeching halt pretty much simultaneously. And that's not a diss to women. It's not to say that their jobs aren't important and that they're not needed. It's not to say that at all. It's just a matter of fact, though.
well, that also goes to what, what they say. Most women are looking for a man who could build the home. and sustain the home, the woman makes the home.
Yeah, she makes that house.
She makes the home.
Yeah.
You know, I can go get an apartment. I can go get a house. I can financially be able to afford everything. But me, I'm typically cool with a TV, one chair, and just whatever food I happen to be eating that night. She's going to be the one to make home-cooked meals, decorate, make sure it's good, and bring a different kind of headspace and peace of mind when I come home. Instead of just, it's work, home, work, home. She's the one that's going to be like, hey, let's get out of that headspace. Hey, this is boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the man is the head of the household, but I think the woman's the heart, and you need both to live. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's not a diss to women. Even though our roles are different, it doesn't mean that the other role isn't as important. Just like with firefighting, right? You need all 4 or 5 people on the engine in order to do a quick attack. If you don't have an officer in charge, then who's going to lead the people? If you don't have a driver, how are you going to get there? If you don't have a plugman, who's going to get the water into the truck? And if you don't have a lineman, who's going to actually put liquid on fire? Everyone's job is different, but they're all equally as important. But I think what ends up happening, going back to the male burden of performance, we've been focusing so hard and harping on men, at least as long as I've been alive, telling men that they need to be better, they need to do more, and that's fine. But I think if you take a step back and you look at what men of today are getting as opposed to the men of yesterday, as far as the quality of their woman, I think it's questionable at best. You know, your grandfather, my grandfather, could work a factory job and get like a good wife. Now you work a factory job and like you're not even viewed as like a person, really. And in some cases, not every single case, you know, not every single woman thinks like this, obviously. But that in my opinion, to answer your question, is what toxic femininity is. It's expecting everything while giving nothing. Like you see on the internet, like a lot of women are like, I am the table. What does that mean? It means that me showing up is enough for you to give me everything. But that's not how relationships work. That's worship.
Yeah.
You know? That's what I think, though. I mean, you guys are fair and welcome to pick my viewpoints apart, but that's what I think.
I do think you brought up the point, the caliber of a woman your grandfather and or great-grandfather had is different than what it is today. Conversely, I think the same is true when it comes to men. Like, the average level of testosterone has decreased in the last couple of decades, and just men being men. Because you would see pictures of like high schoolers from the 70s, and they look like they're damn near 35.
Yeah.
Not even just the 70s. Like, I feel like that was back like even when I was a kid looking up to like
microphone.
Oh shit.
Sorry.
I was just saying, like, not even as far back as the 70s. Like, I remember when I was a kid looking up to like, you know, high schoolers and everything. Like, that's an adult dude right there. Whereas now it's like, I look back, even like when I was in high school, looking at people like a couple classes behind me, I'm like, I'm sorry, you lost? Who let you here? This is a high school. And it's like, I'm 14. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. Like, I do think the quality of people has changed. Yes, I agree with that. I think one is more physical men and their testosterone, and you have more feminized men.
Yes.
But I also think because of that, you also have more masculine women. But here's where we may disagree. I think that the feminized men are shamed, rightfully so. And what do I mean by that?
I know what you mean.
So
like broke boys don't deserve no coochie.
Right. They're shamed.
Yeah.
Saying like, hey, these are our standards. You don't meet them, so move along. Fair enough. But that's crazy. But I think that the masculine women are praised. You go, girl. Be a boss, babe. You don't need no man. And it's like, well, if both things are not helpful to society, when is one side critiqued into quote unquote being better, but the other side is told that they're good just as they are, no matter how wrong their actions are. You know, we tell women that you could be anything and it's fine. She could be a slore. She could be a whore. There's women that want to be like Bonnie Blue.
There's no reason why a girl can't be obsessed with 18-year-olds.
So like, how often do you get tested in that?
Every about 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks? So how many, like in a week, how many willies? Like
This week I'm not on that many,
Okay,
but
got you.
so I get tested tomorrow, but within the last time I got tested, I've probably about 80, 90 people.
How is that not a lot, bruv? Her walls are mash up, bruv. What if like you like Russian roulette with the willies, bruv, and you luck out and it's boom, AIDS, like.
I don't know, I'll have to deal with it when it comes.
Big man ting.
She slept with 1,000 people in a day. And we live in a society that not only promotes that, but celebrates that.
I like when you said when is it determined, like what time? And honestly, because of how many people like watch social media and are influenced by other people who are considered celebrity status and stuff, it could be something as simple as who just released whatever song. So if it was Future, oh, it's gonna be all men, you know what I mean? They're like, oh yeah. But then like Cardi B or Meg Stallion, you know what I mean, release a song. Now it's, girl, you don't need no man. It's all independent. It's hot girl summer. And now you're having to compete up against that. Like it's hard. And like social media has definitely made it a little bit harder too. I mean, I'm not gonna judge because I met my wife through social media, but even going out and trying to do stuff, like it's kind of awkward for you to go and just talk to someone random on the street. Because now, who are you? I don't know who you are. Do you know who I am? Why are you bothering me? Like it's like a whole interrogation. And this whole moment, you were just trying to have a conversation. But it's not always like that. But the majority of the time, when I'm just out and about and I see something like that, it's typically those situations.
Yeah, no, and obviously, like the internet isn't real life. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a small subsection of people. Like I don't think that every single person believes what these people here believe. You know, that's why we're able to have nuanced conversations and talk about different viewpoints and kind of have them picked apart in real time. You know what I mean? But I do think that the level of critique for men is like 99, and like the level of critique for women is like 1. And they say like, you know, who runs society based off of the people you're not allowed to critique.
Yeah, and just like with the whole social media thing is because like everyone's got social media. It's not like the internet has blown up so much in the last 15, 20 years that like you can't go anywhere. Like even if you're just like on Instagram, TikTok, you see all these, hey, this viral clip of like, say someone was accused of like checking out some girl at the gym who was like trying to do her like deadlift or squat. Shit like that, and then that man is like judged heavily, even if he wasn't. We don't know. We just got a glimpse of like,
if it's
like
his
just an
word,
example, but
if it's his word against hers, that guy's losing all the time.
Yeah.
10 times out of 10 he's cooked.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like stuff like that can happen all the time. It goes viral, and then that man's just screwed. But going back to like the whole like, hey, women could either be like, you know, be more femininity or more masculine, or have those more masculine traits, like being like the boss bitch or whatever, like that shit. They can be praised either way, but I feel if you don't follow a certain way of being a man on the internet or any social media, you're heavily scrutinized to a point where it's like, you know, why even bother? Like that's like I don't post. That's why I kind of like I don't post nothing on the internet. I just scroll through. I'm just
I agree with that. You know, like if someone breaks into your house and you're with your girlfriend or your wife, only one of you gets to be scared.
This Superman fights off an armed robber. Isabel is at home relaxing when she hears the front door fly open. Then all of a sudden, a robber armed with a military-style combat shotgun comes up the stairs, points the gun at her husband, and orders him to sit down on the couch. He then points the shotgun at Isabel. Her husband, Caspian, calmly walks out of the kitchen and suddenly lunges for the barrel of the gun, locking on like a pit bull. The robber struggles to get his gun back, but Caspian won't let go. The intruder decides to make a run for it. He drags Caspian down the stairs as he heads for the door. When he gets to the door, the intruder lets go of the shotgun and takes off, leaving Caspian with a parting gift for his trouble.
And that's her. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't get to be like, honey, I'm afraid. She doesn't like that conversation. If it does happen, it's only going to happen once, and then she's going to leave you, and you're not going to have a wife anymore. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah, you are heavily scrutinized as a man. But here's the thing: I don't think the scrutiny is bad as long as the reward of a wife and a family is at the end of said scrutiny, like a quality wife, whatever that man deems quality. You get what I'm saying? But I think we're moving in a way in society where men are being demonized for even wanting that, for being like, oh, you don't want your wife to like work, you want your wife to like stay in and be barefoot and pregnant. That's toxically masculine. And it's like, no, that's just normal. Like, I don't think raise your hand right now, and you're married, so you can attest to this. Would you like it if the woman of your future children, your wife, has like 1 million followers on Instagram? Would that bother you?
Extremely.
Yeah.
Why? Wait, hold on. Would that bother you?
Would it bother me if she had 1 million followers
on Instagram or on any social media for that matter? Yes or no? Why or why not?
That alone would not bother me, no.
Okay. Why would it bother you?
Well, I guess actually, I think it would just depend on what kind. Like, what is she doing on social media? Like, is it just straight like her like in like half naked pics, or is it just her like maybe like, I don't know, example, like a cooking channel, or
right,
or maybe
fair.
it's like an art channel, like a
Fair.
hobby or something.
Would
But
you-
if it's something in sexual nature, then yeah,
Right.
even if it was like less than 1 million, like I would still have like a problem with
Fair enough. Would you prefer if she didn't have 1 million followers? If you had to choose the exact same woman, same looks, whatever, character, whatever the case may be, one has 1 million followers, the other one has like 100. That's the only difference. Which one would you prefer?
I guess the one with no million followers. But like I said, like I think the real issue would just be like the
Right, yeah, that's fair. The nature does matter, but I'm asking, which one would you
I
prefer?
think, yeah, like you said, if she has either a
Promiscuous
business-
account,
No,
then-
no, no.
Oh.
Conversely,
Okay.
if she has like a cooking channel or something that is good and virtuous or whatever you want to call it, and yeah, I want her to have as many followers as she can because this is a good thing.
Right.
I think I lost my train of thought. Oh, social media. I think it's another form of attention. So for me, what does it boil down to? What kind of attention are you getting?
And that's the point I was getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point I was getting at. If you didn't get the answer. Did you want to answer, Speed?
So, me and my wife have talked about social media quite a bit, and like we were wanting to like do YouTube videos, stream, and do all that stuff. But in this situation, as it is, if she could have none or 1 million followers, I would prefer her to have none. And my wife has whatever followers and stuff. But my thing, it's not so much as what the content is, because you know, what I mean, you can't control what someone else is doing. End of the day, they're gonna do them. You can suggest, you can hope, but you can't physically or emotionally control somebody. You can only control yourself at the beginning of the day and at the end. But for me, it's more so when you have 1 million people watching you, that pressure, that mental fact, it's so much easier for you to say something and you are just being yourself, but that can be taken negatively and it can inversely affect others. She has a very high chance of impacting someone, either good or positive, or negatively or bad. It just depends. My mom, for instance, she when she speaks on Facebook, she is considered an influencer because the amount of people who follow her and interact with her on Facebook. And I'm very nervous about what she talks about because in the day, what she says is going to inadvertently affect me because that's my mom, you know what I mean? So I'm tied by blood, but also what she says will affect other people and those who are associated with her as well, friends, coworkers, family. So the social media thing is very hard, especially with 1 million people watching you. It's like Kai said that, you know, everything he does is for his image, his social media, his presence. He can't be around certain people. He can't say certain things. Everything is marketability. So kind of at some point you stop being yourself, start being this image.
That's true. Yeah, that's true too. Like, I have mixed feelings about that though. Like, obviously, if I had a wife, I wouldn't want her to be super famous on social media because you can't regulate the type of attention she's getting, especially if she's attractive, which she's gonna be because I like her, right? You can't regulate the type of attention she gets. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And like it or not, like attention is currency. So again, I'm not saying that every woman is like this, but when you put a human being in front of constant temptation, it's only a matter of time before they break, I believe. Unless they have people around them, unless they have people pouring into them and they have like a strong community and a strong network. If they're just left to their own devices, willpower can only get you so far, right? Now, if it's a channel that me and my wife are doing together, that's different, right? Because now we're in this together. This is something that we're both doing. But if it's just like, hey, I want us to get married, I want us to have kids, because you don't get to 1 million followers without having like, I don't want to say an addiction, but at the very least, a love for the game. You know what I'm saying? You're going to want to put everything on social media. When we fight, that's a post. When our kid is born, that's a Instagram picture. I don't want to be a part of that.
Reminds me of Austin McBoom. You know who that is?
No.
Said it reminds me of Austin, I guess his name like McBoom or something. He had a family. He basically publicized everything with his family and stuff, and then he started messing up with his wife, and then they separated. But he was using them for like views and different things and vlogging his life. And then as things started going down, stuff started coming light. It just the whole family image, everything having to do with him, kind of went sideways. Now I imagine he's recovered, he's becoming a different person now, but it ain't happen overnight. Just like when you build your following, it doesn't happen overnight usually. There are those viral sensations, but even when you're doing it with your partner, it's also one of those things, because money does play a factor. Eventually there's going to be a disconnect, and especially if your wife is not into religion, or you're not into religion, and you don't have nothing to hold y'all together other than, oh, we're married, we love. Sometimes you gotta have something else. Like me and my wife, we personally love the Lord, so that always comes first. You know what I mean? I told her if her priorities, me and her talk about it. I said if the Lord is not your first priority, you know what I mean, then you got something else wrong, because I'm definitely not more important than him. Now, I could be second and third, but I can't be number one over him. That's just me personally.
Yeah, I think that you got to have something outside of yourself in order to make your relationship last longer, because you're not perfect and they're not perfect. Like ultimately, if we're being real, it's like you're both making bad bets. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I'm full of snakes and demons. You're full of snakes and demons. Let's try to figure this out. And then we're going to have kids, and then we're going to just jack them up in a different way. But it doesn't mean that it's not worth it. It's the most important thing that you're going to do. But the most important thing that you're going to do is heavily flawed. Heavily, heavily, heavily flawed. And I don't think that social media has helped that at all. I think social media has speed ran that process. But I think it's been net negative to relationships and long-term relationships, and even back to the burden of performance. Because you could be with a girl and she could think that she has a great life with you, and she just sees something on Instagram or TikTok that says if your boyfriend didn't, I don't know, tap you on your right shoulder during retrograde, then it really means X. And now you have to deal with that.
Instagram got your bitch. Instagram got your bitch. I'm sorry, I know my Christian scorecard just went down for using a profane piece of language. You ain't got your Instagram, got all y'all, because they going to do it for the gram before they do it to you. They going to send a picture to the gram before they send it to you. Social media is doing more to hurt families than it is to help families, and families are the key to health.
It's just not helpful. You know what I'm saying? It's just not helpful in the grand scheme of things. It's really, really
people
not.
Giving bad advice.
It's bad people giving bad advice, claiming to be good people giving good advice.
Like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
It's
like doctors on. It's like those doctors on Instagram who say they're a doctor or a vet, and then they have no backing that I can see, no actual proof, and then they just start giving you advice and claiming everything is facts. And then you got the people in the comments who hopefully are people or bots, and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now you're competing with, okay, I could go to an actual vet, or do I believe this guy who's on my phone, or girl who's on my phone, and there's a million people saying, oh, he's good. Oh, yeah, this worked. So you don't know if it's true, you don't know if it's false, and that's what social media presents.
That goes back to the thing we talked about earlier. You're free to choose if you want to believe that or not. My uncle, he gave me some good advice one time. It was, what is the message and who's the message coming from? So is it somebody you care about and somebody you know you can trust? And does the thing that they're saying kind of make sense? And if it does, it probably is. Doesn't hurt you though to say, okay, let me get a second opinion.
We can tie that right back into this then, right? Because I think that the message to men has been, you need to be better. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Oh, always.
Right. It has been that you need to be better. And who is that message coming from? It's coming from well, I'd say it's coming from inside and outside. You know what I'm saying? If you're a real man of value and purpose, you're constantly telling yourself, I need to be better and I need to be stronger. Right. And that's fine. That's fair. But when the same people who you see flaws in that you're not allowed to critique are the ones telling you that you should be better, and now it's like, well, maybe, but now the messenger's changed. But that's what I was saying earlier with like the quality of the woman and the quality of the man for women. The messenger has changed. The message may be the same, but the society has changed. The quality of the people has changed. So now it's like, well, is this something that is worth caring about? And I think if you have a nation of people that feel that way, that's the first step to losing your nation. I think. When society is just families. At the base of it, it's just families. If the family dynamic is broken, society's broken all the way up after that. There's no way you can have a society of broken families and has a good government. It just doesn't make sense to have that. Because good politics come from good families because they want to protect and preserve those beliefs, right? That American dream, wherever you're from, right? But if you have a broken family, and all you know is broken families, then how can you find peace in brokenness unless you seek something outside of yourself? You know what I'm saying?
That kind of brings me to something I once heard from someone. I don't know, can't remember off the top of my head, but he said basically a wife, if you marry a wife, how can she be a wife if her mom is not a wife? You need someone to teach you to become a wife or how to be a wife. Otherwise, you're going to have an uphill battle. Same thing for a husband. If you have nothing but single dads, around you who have multiple women, who have multiple babies with them women and stuff, you're not going to be looking at him to learn how to become a husband. You're not. You're going to have to look to somebody else. But there's times when you look into somebody and you're thinking, hey, this is a good husband. They married for 15 years, excellent relationship, but they're fighting demons. Like, they're going to counseling. He's got a mistress or something. It kind of puts into that, man, what now? But I do like to think about that. You can't become a wife unless you know a wife. You can't become a husband unless you know what it means to be a husband, to be dedicated, to take on a responsibility, to understand that it's not just you no more. You are no longer by yourself when you talk about anything, finances, decisions. Like if I want to go to Spain, I'm not thinking, okay, I need to buy a ticket for me. I need to book a hotel for myself. No, I'm thinking, I got dogs at the house. What am I going to do with those? Okay, what about my wife? What about her job? What about her time? When was enough notice? What are we going to have to do? What are we going to do when we get there? It's a whole nother category now. Because if I wanted to be single, you'd be single. If you want to be married, you're taking on that burden. You're taking on that responsibility.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're saying for the women, if your mother wasn't a wife, then that woman is not a wife or not wife material? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, we'll say it in the sense you were doing, right? So your woman, her mom wasn't a wife. I'm not saying your wife can't be a wife. I'm saying your wife's going to have a harder uphill battle because she doesn't have the example to look at and the understanding of like, hey, this is what it takes to be a wife and this sacrifice. But there are times, where they do become, but it's going to be an uphill battle. It's the same thing for a husband. If you got people around you, I got people around me, all they're doing is having kids, but they're not making any real commitment to these women that they're having kids with. You know what I mean? And I want to be a husband. I say I want to get married. Like, I want to be different from my family. I want to be different. I wanted to marry a woman first before I started having children. You know what I mean? Not only does that make me look weird in their eyes, but I'm not going to be looking to them for advice in terms of relationships. Because, yeah, you have a relationship and, yeah, you have a child, but you don't have what I consider what I want, which is that marriage, that lasting, hey, I'm going to love you to the day I die. You going to love me to the day I die. And I'm going to handle everything. And I'm going to have your back. You know what I mean? Regardless. But it's going to be an uphill battle.
So if you don't have that, it's very likely that it's more challenging versus if you did have that example.
Yes, very much.
Okay. I can get behind that.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's a fair
and I kind of agree with that too. So for my situation, going a little personal, like, I grew up with a single mom, but it wasn't just her taking care of me when I was very young. I had both my grandparents from my mom's side. Like, we lived with them for like the first like 5-ish years of my life. And even when we moved out of there, we were still fairly close. Like, we were still in the same town and everything. So up until I was about 10 when my dad came into my life. And he kind of gave me that example of what a man should be. But still, even those young years, those are still very impressionable years. Before that, I had my grandfather. He was always around. He took me under his wing. I was always around him anytime I wasn't like in school or anything. And he would always be coming to me and my mom's place in the morning to help me get ready for school, talk with me, give me life lessons and all this other stuff. And, he played even though he wasn't my dad, he played biological.
Yeah, I was just about to say that too. Like, and I wasn't going to interrupt you, but yeah, that's a very good point. Like, blood doesn't necessarily mean family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I consider you guys my family, especially when we're out here. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like the sun goes down, I look to the people to my left and to my right. You know, I'm gonna need you guys to come get my black ass out this fire. You feel me? Come get me, please. You know,
help me,
help me,
help me, nigga, help me.
say it, Ash. Say it right now into the mic. but no, man. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, y'all are my family. So I was gonna say, like, yeah, he may not be your biological dad, but still, he taught you the life lessons and stuff that you needed to move forward. And I think that that's what a father figure is. And to your point as well, like, if you don't have that initial father figure, you're gonna get it from somewhere, whether it be a gang, whether it be the military, whether it be someone you look up to at work. Like, men, we kind of strive in environments that stress us. So going back to this, right, where it talks about the burden of performance, I think that it's what we are made to do in order to get the best out of us. Because I think the worst type of man is the man who hasn't pushed himself, is the man who doesn't know what he's like when he's in danger, doesn't know what it's like to bleed. He doesn't know what it's like to work hard. I think that's the worst type of man. And I think the best type of man is the type of man who's been through the most amount of pain and has come out on the other side, like, still messed up, but understands it. Like, you look at Mike Tyson's journey. That guy was like the baddest man on the planet. Even now to this day, if Mike Tyson broke into my house, I'm not fighting him. I'm shooting him. Like, I'm not fighting you.
What is he, like 60 or something?
I don't care, bro. I'm not fighting him. You feel me? But to go from that to like the amount of humility and stuff like that he has now, it's a beautiful thing to see. And everyone can respect that, right? But they only respect that because they know what he used to be. And I think the best type of man does step up to this burden of performance and does outwork his peers and does outwork himself from last year and the year before and the year before. And he constantly tries to get better. And he's going to fail. He's going to stumble. You know what I mean? And your haters are going to whisper your successes and scream your failures. That's what they're there for. But then you get up and you do it again and you do it again and you do it again. And for people that are religious and they have faith in God, that's your strength. It's not from what you do. It's from what you don't do, from what you refrain from, honestly, because you have to deny the flesh to feed the spirit. Like, all these things play into each other. You get what I'm saying? But when it comes down to said burden of performance, I do think that the message shouldn't come from society, because society is going to tell you what to do so it benefits them, not benefits you. And that's just manipulation. That's the only difference between manipulation and leadership. Leadership is getting someone to do something that's going to benefit everybody. That's a part of the group, organization, whatever. Manipulation is trying to get someone to do something that's only going to benefit me. It's the only difference. So with women telling men, oh, you need to be better, you need to make more money, you need this, you need that, maybe so. But again, the question is, if I'm doing all of this, what are you doing? That's what makes you worthy of being my running mate. And if her question is, well, I am the table, you trip that hoe and you never let her run with you again. It's that simple. That's how I view it. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of how I look at it. So we're going to give some closing thoughts here because my phone is dying. So to get some closing thoughts here.
I'll make it real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
To what you were saying. Yeah, I think if you don't have that growing up, it is probably going to be a little bit more challenging. So that was one. But the caveat on that, if that person didn't have that, whether they were a man or a woman, I can't judge them. With that said, I would look at what kind of heart does this person have. And if it's aligned with everything that I was worried about when I found out that they didn't have that growing up, and it's persistent, then I think I'd be more inclined to walk away. But that's on that. And then
that's fair.
To add on to the worst type of person, again, I'm looking back to the Bible because I think it pretty much encompasses most, if not everything that you're saying. I think the worst type of person is, and this is a horrible thing to say, but one of the worst types of people is the person.
I turned up your mic, by the way, just so you could hear it.
Sorry?
I turned up your mic. You said it's the worst thing to say, so I turned up your mic.
The worst thing is, I think a person who blatantly, without a shadow of a doubt, rejects God. Because the person I think of when I imagine that is somebody who's not patient and loving, or who's not merciful. One of the things I read today in the book of Mark, I think it was, it's not what goes into a man's mouth that defiles him, it's what goes out. So in the Old Testament, there was a lot of things you were forbidden from eating because those were dietary restrictions. Jesus Christ said, I have made all foods clean. What that meaning is you don't have to not eat pork or certain shellfish, etc., etc. That is not what, spiritually speaking, what you have to do. There's other things. So it's not what goes into your mouth, it's what comes out. And if the things that are coming out are
blasphemous,
hurtful, mean, you lie, things like that, I don't think anybody wants to be with somebody who lies blatantly. So just to add on to your point, I agree. But for me personally, I think that's the worst type of person because that encompasses everything.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. And that's a whole another video that we could definitely do.
Yeah.
But what are your closing thoughts on this, man? Like, what do you think about the burden of performance to wrap it up? And then we'll bounce it over to Speedy, and then we'll do a little outro, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah. So with the men's burdens performance, like we talked about, I think it's something that's put both on from outside men and women, but also some, like we talked about with the also very internal. Like we had a conversation once where I said, like, I feel like I'm my worst critic. I feel like there's so much stuff personally that I need to do just to be better or be more accepted. And I think you told me it once when we were walking back from the what was it? It was after our run and everything. You know, you got to let yourself. You can't criticize yourself so harsh on just your failures, but you still need to be able to, get back up. Keep moving forward, even when you fail. And I think that's something everyone needs to think about, because I feel like a lot of people criticize themselves most than other people. Even if you're just, like, say you put something online and you see the comments, but you think about those all the time, whereas someone just wrote that comment as like a joke.
Yeah.
But
well, here's the thing. Like, the thing about failure that I learned through fighting actually is that failure is what makes success so good. If you just won all the time, then you wouldn't really, like, it'd be cool It'd be great. It's awesome. But when you lose badly to someone and then you train hard, you spar hard, you eat different, you run, you do everything that you need to, and then you beat them worse than they beat you, there's no better feeling than that. So you have to fail. You're gonna fail. If you're trying anything that you're trying to do, like for example, if I'm in the gym and I'm working out and I fail a weight, I feel weak because I failed. The things that I'm doing that are making me feel weak are actually making me stronger. It's the same spiritually. When you're reading the Bible and you're denying your flesh, it makes you feel weak, but it's actually making you stronger.
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire. That's what men are. So when we talk about burden of performances, it's trial by fire.
Or forging fire.
I know what you meant.
Yeah.
Like, but it just is what it is.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? If we don't carry our cross, we don't get into the land of salvation. But you still have to pick it up and like drag it, do whatever you can do, but it still has to be a part of who you're going to be. So yeah, critique yourself, be your biggest critic. That's fine. But don't critique yourself into immobility. Don't critique yourself into instability or to wrath or to rage or anything like
Or
that.
oblivion.
Yeah. Like allow yourself grace, but and keep moving forward, you know?
Yeah. I feel like the best thing to like kind of really hit home with all that is being a parent. It's seriously like being a parent, because everything like your parents did to you or didn't do and all that, like pain, all those bad examples, all those good examples and stuff, you have all the time and redemption when you finally have your own children. And especially when you have multiple children. That first one, you're scared of everything. Second one, you're a little bit more prepared. That third one, it's like a walk in the park after you've had those first two. But oh man, it's when you have your children, you start to have your children, it's up to you at that point to decide what kind of parent you want to be. And it goes to the fact of, you know what I mean, that burden, that responsibility. It's not even just in the marriage. It's not just personal. It could be just, you know what I mean, from something you had helped created, you know what I mean, at that moment in time. And you're going to be forging them, and they're going to be learning everything they can from you, and the representation you are putting out to them is what they're going to see. So back to like, you know what I mean, hey, I'm a husband now. So if me and my wife have a child, that child sees, okay, my mom and dad are married, they're both me. Now, no shame to those born out of wedlock, but it's going to show something more. If I'm not being faithful, if I'm not being a good husband, if I'm taking all my aggression from the day and bringing it home, my child's going to see that, and my child's going to be like, hey, that's normal, that's dad. And I don't want that for my kid, whether it be male or female. I don't want none of that for my child. Even arguing, I don't even want to argue in front of my kids. I want to, if I have to argue, I shouldn't have to raise my tone. I should have to go in the other room with whoever I'm having that argument with, and we can have it separate from the child. We don't need to involve the child because the child is innocent. I feel like what you do and how you hold yourself is going to affect everything. Not just those around you, but those who will come eventually from you as a man.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with a lot of what you guys said. I think this was a pretty good first episode. I think it was pretty good. So, yeah, we're going to end it here. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget the best way to help out the channel is to watch another one of the videos that you see popping up on the screen right now. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.